Hey friends, it's Mike Cohen here with another Michael Cohen Reacts. Well, today, former President Donald Trump's attorneys argued before the appellate court that a gag order imposed on him in an ongoing election interference case is a clear violation of his First Amendment right to free speech. Now, I want to be clear about something here, that the attorneys maintain that the order which prohibits Trump from publicly discussing the case or the individuals involved is overly broad and unconstitutional. Now, I want to be clear about something else. You may also recall that at one point in time, Donald Trump, with the assistance of his bloviated Attorney General, Bill Barr, decided that they were going to do that to me. Why did they decide to do it to me? Well, as Judge Alvin K. Hellerstein noted, it was retaliation to prevent me from speaking out and from publishing a book. I mean, it's amazing that he believes he's entitled to things that nobody else is entitled to. Now, let's go further here, because Trump's legal team contends that the gag order effectively silences him on matters of public interest and severely restricts his ability to defend himself against the allegations made against him. They argue that the order is not narrowly tailored to serve a compelling government interest, and that it is instead an attempt to suppress Trump's political speech, something I've been telling you that Donald is trying to do over and over and over again. Now, the appellate court's decision on this matter is going to have extremely significant implications for the speech rights in the United States. If the court upholds the gag order, it could send a very dangerous precedent, however, for restricting free speech of individuals involved in legal proceedings. And there's a whole slew of key arguments that are raised by Trump's attorneys. And let me go through them. So you have the gag order is overly broad and vague, prohibiting Trump, could you imagine this? Prohibiting Trump from discussing a wide range of topics that are not directly related to the case. I don't think that that's the case here. Good try by his lawyers. Then they go on to say that the order is not narrowly tailored to serve a compelling government interest. Now, while protecting the integrity of the judicial process, that is a valid interest, and that the gag order goes well beyond what is necessary to achieve that goal. Further, they argue that the order infringes on Trump's First Amendment right to free speech. The First Amendment, so everybody understands, protects the right to express unpopular or controversial views, and that the government must have a strong jurisdiction for restricting that right. Again, Donald believes that there are two sets of laws. There's the laws that relate to him, and then there's the laws that relate to the rest of us. Me, I was just putting out my book, Disloyal, when Donald decided to have me unconstitutionally remanded back to Otisville. And that's something, not for you to take it from me, that's something Alvin K. Hellerstein, federal court judge Hellerstein, stated when he demanded they immediately release me and called it retaliatory, to which I have my lawsuit, which is pending against the United States government, Trump, Bill Barr, DOJ, etc. That's going to be a great test, because what he did to me, I am clearly suing on, and he, at the same point in time, is suing, making allegations that it's the Biden administration that did it to him. So look, let me then just sum this thing up. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution guarantees the right to free speech. We all know that, but we also know that you can't walk into a crowded room and yell fire, because there is no compelling interest in that speech. And as I just said, that right is not absolute. Donald thinks anything he says makes it absolute because, again, he believes that there's two different systems and that it can be restricted in certain circumstances. So, for example, the government can restrict speech that incites violence or that is clearly false and defamatory. Now, one of the things that you may have also seen, I think it was Media I8, that they put out a story, and I've had it on my social media where Trump says nothing good is going to come out of Cohen and that he's going to end up with serious problems. Again, knowing Donald the way I do, knowing how he speaks like a mob boss, this is the threat, the witness intimidation, the obstruction of justice that the circuit court today has to deal with when coming up with the ultimate decision. Now, in the context of gag orders, the courts must carefully balance the defendant's First Amendment rights with the government's interest in ensuring a fair trial, something that Donald clearly does not want. He doesn't want a fair trial. He wants a trial that only benefits him. And gag orders are typically only upheld if they are narrowly tailored to serve a compelling government interest and if they are at least restrictive means of achieving that interest. Okay, the problem is it's not one case, it's actually two different cases where he's not just going against the judge, but he's going against the judge's staff. He's going against witnesses. This is the way that Donald Trump behaves. And it's absolutely, in my opinion, it's not free speech, and they absolutely should. However, in this case, let me just sort of sum this thing up. Trump's attorneys then argue that the gag order does not meet these standards. They contend that the order is overly broad and that it is not necessary to protect the integrity of the judicial process. They further go on to argue that the order infringes on Trump's First Amendment right to free speech. Now, unless you've ever been on the other side, like I have, like I currently am, as it relates to Donald, you can't imagine when he puts out these posts, the amount of hatred that an individual like myself gets. And Donald knows this. He knows exactly what he's doing. This is not accidental. This is intentional. So the appellate court's decision on this matter will be, of course, closely watched by legal experts and the general public, myself included, because it's extremely important in terms of me figuring out how I have to deal with it, because I'm not done now simply that the New York civil fraud trial, the New York Attorney General case, my participation is over, but rather we now have coming up in March the Manhattan District Attorney case. So this is really important too, because I have no interest in going through what I had gone through over the course of the last 4 or 5 weeks. And the court's ruling can and will have a significant impact on the scope of the First Amendment protections of the United States. Now, just to go back for one quick second, what I was saying before, I have my case, Michael Cohen versus United States of America. That's going to be heard at the appellate division on December 14th. And we believe that we have an absolute First Amendment right that was violated by Donald Trump, Bill Barr, DOJ, Bureau of Prisons, etc. And this decision, I do believe, will certainly have an impact on that. So stay tuned, my friends. And again, thanks for watching Michael Cohen Reacts.
Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.